Right. Hello, everyone. So, so this is gonna be the first. This is gonna be the first chapter that I'm going to be recording all. Well, this is gonna be the first part that I am recording instead of streaming. So, yeah, because I decided that streaming something like this didn't make any sense because nobody can watch it unless they've seen everything up until that point. So I'm just going to record these and upload them to YouTube. So, and and yeah, now I finally have this mic actually working because for the last couple parts I accidentally, for some reason, my laptop was using its built-in mic instead of the mic that I had hooked up. So everything should be a lot clearer now. Okay.
ランディ君人形？ああ、そりゃレナのツボだわな。
レナがサトコやリカちゃんをお持ち帰りしたくなるのはわかる。だがランディ君人形だけは理解できないぞ。あんなメガネ親父の。
そりゃレナに直接聞けばいいじゃん。どうせだって可愛いんだもんしか言わないだろうけどさ。
レナはよくあそこ工事現場のとこへ宝探しに行くのか？
ちょくちょく見に行くって言ってましたです。
しかし年頃の女の子がゴミあさりね。
レナが楽しいならいいんだと思いますです。
あそこはなんだよ。ダムの工事現場だったのか？
It had been bugging me since yesterday, like an itch I couldn't scratch.
何年か前に中止になっちゃったけどね。
みんなで力を合わせて戦いましたです。
Hearing an ominous word like fought come from Rika's mouth startled me.
そうそう。何しろとんでもない話だったんだよ。ひなみ沢が丸ごとダム湖に沈むことに一方的になってさ。
So I'm only able to be here because the protest succeeded.
ごめんねごめんね。待たせちゃったかな。申し訳ありませんわねケイチさん。お化粧直しに時間をかけちゃいまして。
サトコ、便所には溜めてから行け。一気に出せて楽で早いぞ。
花も恥じらう乙女になんて口の利き方。
Who was she calling a maiden? If Satoko was really a maiden, she wouldn't have reacted like that. The usual hijinks ensued.
さてと、今日は快速に乗っ取り部員の諸君に是非を問いたい。彼前原圭一君を新たな部員として我らの部活動に加えたいのだがいかがだろうか。
レナは異議なーし。近隣風情が私の相手を務められるかしら。僕もサトコも賛成しますですよ。
The three that Mion had queried voiced their approval.
全会一致。おめでとう前原圭一君。君に栄えある我が部への入部試験を許可する。
順を追って説明しろ。俺はまだ入るとは言ってないぞ。何の部活だ？
我が部はだな、複雑化する社会に対応するため活動ごとに提案されるさまざまな条件下、時には順境あるいは逆境からいかにして。
レナは弱いからいじめないでほしいな。仲良くやろうね。レナさんは甘えてますわ。弱い者は食い尽くされるのが世の常なのでございますわよ。
This was starting to sound a bit sketchy. So, what kind of club was it?
つまりみんなでゲームして遊ぶ部活なのです。
Rika-chan was the only one to answer my question with a pertinent response. So basically, this club put Mion's hobby of collecting games to use by playing the various games that Mion had hoarded every day. It seemed that, depending on the day, there were prizes for the winner or a penalty for the person who finished in last place.
先に断っとくけど、ままごと遊びみたいなレベルじゃないからね。
No.
一生いっぱいに命がかかってるくらい本気でかかった方がいいよ。
楽しくやれればいいじゃないか。そう凄むなよ。
快速第一条、狙うのは1位のみ。遊びだからなんていういい加減なプレーは許さない。
快速第2条、そのためにはあらゆる努力をすることが義務付けられておりますのよ。
The way Satoko said it, it sounded like she was saying, use any means necessary.
もちろん僕も頑張りますです。レナも弱いけどね、精一杯頑張ってるの。
I knew what they were trying to say. In a game where everybody is aiming for the top, it's rather unsportsmanlike to play just for fun.
よし、俺も本気でやってやるぜ。
With that, I was finally ready for the rite of initiation, my baptism into the club.
ケイちゃんに一応忠告ね。レナも結構えげつないからね。
This initiation looks like it's gonna be rough. Mion began fishing around in the student lockers in the back of the room. They have the games here at the school? Well, it's club equipment, so I guess that's fine.
難しいゲームはケイちゃんだけに不利だからね。今日は誰にでもわかるゲームにしよう。スタンダードにトランプのジジ抜きはどう？
よし、受けてやるぜ。
やっぱり罰ゲームがないと思えないよね。今回はビリに顔面落書きの刑。どう？
優勢じゃないよね。優勢じゃないよね。
Permanent. She wants to draw on our faces with permanent marker?
上等でございますわ。
Satoko cheered the idea on. She didn't even flinch at the thought of such a severe penalty. It seemed like she was raring to go. It's going to be like this, then I can't lose either.
じゃあカード切ってみんなに配るね。
Old Bachelor is pretty much the same as Old Maid. There's only one difference. There's no Joker. In its place, one card is pulled out at the start, meaning there will be one card without a match left over at the end. You don't know which card will end up being the Joker. It's a pretty thrilling game.
じゃあ1枚抜くね。
Mion took out one card and left it face down on the table. Everybody stared at the card intently.
ま、終盤になればおのずとわかるし、最初はどうしようもないよな。
But the rest of them were very serious. They didn't seem as relaxed as I was. They compared their cards to the one face down, all the while gauging each other's reactions. It was as if they could see what the face down card was. No, it couldn't be.
このトランプ、結構傷物だろ？まさか、みんなにはその傷で、そこに伏せたカードが分かってる？
快速第2条ですわ。ケイチさんも勝つために最善の努力をなさいませ。いくつかのカードは特徴的だから、ケイチ君にもすぐ覚えられるよ。
She said that so matter-of-factly.
上等だぜ。この程度でハンデになると思うなよ。
I lashed out angrily, but it was rather obvious I was at a disadvantage. After all, they'd gone so far as to memorize the wear and tear for each individual card. This wasn't a simple game of Old Bachelor. This was a test. They were playing with the answer sheet right in front of them. Bring it! I'll take advantage of your carelessness and beat you at your own game. That baseless confidence would soon be crushed.
ケイちゃんの手札を右から言うぜ。3、4、9、ジャック、クイーン。
ちなみにジジはダイヤの J なのです。
Hold on just a second. Sorry, I had to check something. Ah.
どうカードを入れ替えたって見え見えですわ。上がりですな。
I thought I was prepared, but for it to be this brutal, just overwhelming.
鬼だ。こいつらは鬼だ。レナは鬼じゃないよな。
ごめんねケイイチくん。こっちがハートの3だよね。上がり。
Not even a hint of mercy. Rena, even Rika-chan. These club activities weren't to be trifled with. An alumnus of this club would definitely survive in the cruelest of situations. If our entire class had self-detonating collars strapped to their necks and were dropped into a death match on a deserted island, these guys would probably take to it like fish to water. I can already picture their joy as they hunt down each of their classmates.
ポイントは減点制ね。着順がそのままマイナス点。トータルで一番少ない人が優勝。
ではケイイチはビリなので5です。
There's already 5 marked down on my scoreboard.
やっぱりさ、綺麗なトランプでやらないとケイイチくんに不公平だよ。
いいのいいの。ケイちゃんだって男だし。これくらいの逆境は跳ね返せるよね。
貧民風情は逃げ帰って涙で枕を濡らすのがお似合いでございますことよ。
A petite hand laid itself on top of my head, which was trembling from uncontainable frustration. It was Rika-chan's.
ファイト、おーです。
Thanks to Rika-chan's words of encouragement, I was able to calm down. You need to be calm, especially when you're cornered. That's the power I could muster during this crisis. Think clearly, Keiichi Maebara. Take your time and look at the cards carefully. It's just as Rena said, several of the cards have their own distinct markings making them stand out. Memorizing them should be pretty simple. Think about what you can do in this situation. Try everything in your power to improve your chances of victory.
うわ、うまいよケイイチくん。その調子。
I covered the uniquely marked cards with my hands or other cards, arranging them in such a way that they couldn't be seen.
角が割れているのは5だったはずです。上がりましたです。
I couldn't let any of those precious hints slip me by. All information is a weapon. Then it was my turn. Satoko fanned out her cards for me.
欲しいのは7なんだが、これかな。
さーてどうかしら。聞いてみないとわかりませんことよ。
There was a bit of dismay in her expression. Like she doesn't want it taken. That kind of expression. I won't let that momentary lapse slip me by.
見えた。
Slipped by me. That's what I meant to say. Ah,
これだ。
got it! 7 of spade. A cheer of ooh rang out.
なんですって7は一番わかりにくいはずですのに。
It wasn't from memorizing the markings. Those slight changes in her expressions as I was selecting a card were enough.
ほらケイちゃん隠さない。 この傷が確かダイヤの2だったよね。あれ
She was startled by her own misread. Of course, everyone else was too.
ああ、みーちゃんがカード間違えるなんて珍しいね。
違う。ケイちゃん、あんた、まさか。
They told them apart by different marks. That mark was a nail scratch. So, I put a new one on it!
ダイヤの2を偽装したというですの？味な真似をするでございますわ。ケイチ、一矢報いましたです。やったね、ケイチくん。大前線だよ。
Having defeated the Forerunner, Mion, my brilliant battle left me ecstatic. But by total points, it was already set in stone that Mion would win, and I would finish last. I laughed haughtily, selecting the tone of my voice carefully to get on Mion's nerves.
まあビリは確定だけどさ、最後にミオンから一本取れたから大満足かな。
That should be the proverbial slap in the face to Mion, who was at the top already and ensured victory.
この回、仮にケイちゃんが1着になってもトータルビリが確定するんだけど、嫌でしょ？
当たり前だ。
一騎打ちしようよ。ワンチャンス。勝てたらケイちゃん1位で私ビリの大逆転なんてどう？乗るでしょ？
She fell for it. A chance for an upset that wouldn't be possible without goading her into it.
ワンチャンスだと？ルールを説明しろ。
Mion discarded 2 cards from her hand and replaced one with the Joker card that was on the table, then shuffled the resulting hand behind her back.
右手のカードと左手のカード、どっちがジョーカーか当てたらケイちゃんの勝ち。
今後ろに回した時ジョーカーを抜いたってことはないだろうな。
ケイちゃんが負けたら反対の手のカードも公開するよ。それなら OK でしょ。
The other 3 gulped nervously at this unexpected turn of events.
よし、乗ってやる。
Mion grasped 1 card in each hand and thrust them out at me. First, I needed to inspect them closely. The card on the right had no distinguishing marks. I couldn't tell which one it was.
どっちだろう。ケイチくん、慎重にね。
ああ、もちろんだぜ。逆転の大チャンスだ。
Looking closely at the card on the left, I saw a little wear. It wasn't one I had seen before.
あのカードは。
I didn't let that bit from Satoko slip by me. Mion clucked her tongue. I didn't recognize the mark on the left card from the small number that I had memorized. I didn't know what the left card was, but I could tell from Satoko's reaction that the card had already appeared during the game. Since it had already appeared before, it meant that it definitely wasn't the Joker.
ケイちゃんは右のカードを疑ってる？じゃあ右にする？右？
The left card definitely wasn't the Joker. If I could trust that theory, then I should have been able to declare that the card to the right was the Joker. Even without Mion's taunting, the one on the right was the most suspicious. But wasn't it a bit too rash to decide based solely on Satoko's reaction? More carefully. Ah! I remember now. That mark, the left card. No doubt about it. The 7 of clubs!
うん。きっとクローバーの7だね。
I've won! The card on the left was the 7 of clubs. So that meant the card on the right was the Joker! And then, just before my hand touched the right card, I froze.
さすがミオンだよ。
The there was a wave of murmurs amongst the onlookers at my sudden halt, right before I confirmed the right card was the Joker.
ケイイチさんは何を言ってるのでございましょう。だって左 C です。
へえ、ケイちゃんはどうして右がジョーカーじゃないって確信できるの？
Mion let loose an unexpected question. Everyone else was baffled.
右のカードが何かは俺にもわからないさ。だが左のカードがクローバーの7だってことだけはわかる。
じゃあ残る右のカードがジョーカーなのじゃありませんこと？必ず左右どっちかがジョーカーという約束でしょ？
ああ、左右のどっちかにジョーカーがあるのは本当だろうな。
ケイイチは勘がいいです。リカちゃん、それってどういう？
つまりさ、クローバーの7はさっき俺がサトコのスペードの7と合わせて捨てたカードなんだよ。
Everyone's attention snapped to the discard pile at the same time. The truth of the matter couldn't be discerned from that sloppy pile.
つまりミオンは捨て札を1枚拾って左のカードに重ねている。つまり
そうか、わかった。左のカードをクローバーの7に見せかけているんだね。
It was the first time since the start of the match that a shadow ran across Mion's expression, and I didn't let that slip by. Then, with a grand flourish, I declared it loudly.
ジョーカーは左手だ
！It was an intense moment. That 1 second felt like an eternity for everyone there. Breaking that silence, the first one to speak was Mion.
初代部長として私も様々なプレイングを見てきたけど、ケイちゃん、あんたはベストだよ。ベストオブザベストオブザベスト。
That was probably the greatest compliment Mion could give. Mion accepted her defeat, dropping the cards from both hands. My comeback victory! Rika-chan placed her hand on my head and began petting it, congratulating me on my victory.
リカちゃんか？
Rena and Satoko gaped at us, as if they had seen a ghost.
なんだよレナ。別に俺はインチキしてないだろ。正々堂々と。
リカは慰めるときにしか頭を撫でませんの。
Huh? What's the meaning of... At that moment, Brenham let out a small shriek.
ケイイチ君、こんなことって。
ケイちゃんならさ、ここまで読んでくれると思ってたよ。
Everyone froze. No, it was just me.
賭けだった。ケイちゃんがおてんばさんの早とちりだったなら、負けてたのは私だった。
It was the answer everyone was certain about. Mion picked up the card from the losing hand.
ケイちゃんはさ、この負けを誇っていいよ。
She turned it around. That was the card that proclaimed the victor of the duel. The card under the 7 of clubs. Unbelievable. It was the 2 of diamonds. It was a setup behind the setup. If I'd just picked the right one without reading so deeply into it.
部長、園崎美音の名において、前原圭一、あんたの我が部への入部を許可する。
As I slumped to my knees, dazed, everybody let out a round of applause for the excellent effort I gave despite my defeat.
これにて決着。本日の優勝は私、園崎美音。栄えあるビリは 原圭一。
Everyone made a commotion, applauding cheerfully. I felt I was bested, but I was so soundly beaten that it unexpectedly felt rather refreshing.
みーちゃんが後ろ手で細工した時、またやるんだって思ってドキドキしちゃった。圭一さんが正解に触れる直前で止まった時にはかかったって思いましたわ。見事に引っかかってくれましたです。
Huh? Hey, wait! All of them knew from the start and still got so excited so earnestly?
楽しくなるようにみんなで盛り上げましたですよ。
You...
お前らみんな鬼だ。人手なし。
さてケイちゃんに罰ゲームだね。今日は部活の初日だしね。ソフトに行こうかね。いきなり登校拒否になられちゃ困るし。
The other three members held down my arms and shoulders firmly. Mion approached, licking her lips. Her right hand went to pull something out of her pocket. That's a felt tip marker! And it's a giant permanent one!
さて行くよ。
She took the cap off the marker and brought it slowly up to my face while I was immobilized.
いややめろ。
I let out my death throes. As soon as the club activities were finished, Rena flew off. Probably so she could dig out that Kai Colonel Randy that she wasn't able to take home yesterday. So today it was just Mion and me walking home together, a rather rare occurrence.
宝の山か。捨ててる連中もまさかレナに感謝されてるとは夢にも思わないだろうね。
Mountain of treasure, meaning that dam construction site from before. Oh, right. Mion would probably tell me. That murder by dismemberment that seemed to have happened there.
あそこさ、ダムの工事現場。なんかあったんだろ？昔。
そりゃあったよ、戦いが。座り込みやったりデモをやったり。
It was a bit different from what I wanted to hear, but I decided I'd listen just the same.
自分たちの土地がダム湖に沈むんだもんな。俺だって戦うだろうな。
役人どもは本当に一方的だった。偉そうで威張ってた。金で解決できないと悟ると、あらゆる嫌がらせをしてきたんだよ。いやらしい奴らだった。
Mion spoke excitedly, as if the whole thing was happening right in front of her.
よく勝てたな。相手は国だろ？
村長や村の有力者たちがね、方々に陳情した。東京にも行ったし、いろんな政治家に根回しもした。そうしてるうちに計画は撤回されたんだよ。私たちの完全勝利だった。
暴力沙汰とかにはならなかったのか？傷害事件とか殺人。
なかった。
She promptly cut me off. Same as Rena had. Her words signaled the end of the discussion. Tomitake-san said one arm wasn't found in the incident. I thought that a murder by dismemberment had occurred, but I guess I was wrong. My curiosity unsated, I sighed dejectedly inside.
じゃあね、また明日ね。ケイちゃんそれ、うちに帰るまで消しちゃダメだからね。
わかってるよ。消さねえよ。
Mion held back her laughter while stealing glances at my face. I wonder what kind of nasty doodles they drew. Damn you, Mion. You shall rule this day. If our roles were ever reversed, I'm going to go all out. All over your face so you won't be able to take it off, even with a scouring pad. Upon arriving home, I ran straight into my mom, embarrassing myself yet again. The mood I'd come home to was already on edge. It's not an uncommon thing in our family. Whenever Dad can't come up with a good idea, it always ends up like this. He stomps around the house with his arms crossed. Mom whispered into my ear,
おかえり、ケイチ。お父さん大変そうだからそっとしてあげてね。
またアイデアに詰まったわけ？
今回は締め切りが重なったからね。お父さん充電期間がないと大変だから。
Dad's paintings feed our entire family. If he runs out of ideas, then it's the end of the Mayabaras. We've never gone hungry before. Could it be that my dad is a master painter?
家の中をうろうろしないで表に散歩でも行った方がアイデアが出るんじゃねえの？
今回は生活空間がテーマだから、お父さんこの家をモチーフにしたいみたい。
That's quite a bothersome motif.
ケイチ、部屋の中を少しは片付けなさい。みっともないぞ。
ごめん後で片付けるよ。
Aw, come on. Please don't use my room as the motif.
ケイチ、お夕飯までまだ時間があるから、表でも散歩してらっしゃい。
Dad's moods are only temporary. As soon as he gets an idea, his mood improves and he starts humming. Until then, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just go take a walk so I don't aggravate him further.
じゃあそうするかな。
I said I was going to take a walk, but I didn't have any particular destination in mind. I just needed to kill some time. I got on my bike and pondered where to go. I could just go read at the bookstore, but it would take about an hour by bike to get to town. It would be dark by the time I got back, so I didn't want to go unless I had to. The roads at night here in Hinamizawa creep me out. If Mion or Satoko ever found out about that, I smiled wryly. Oh yeah, Rena was probably still at the Mountain of Treasure, the dam construction site. The excavation of Colonel Randy was probably taking her a while. Wouldn't be so bad to have her owe me one.
次の部活の時に恩返ししてもらえるかもしれないしな。
With a little bit of self-interest in mind, I set off towards the dam construction site. Tomitake-san might be there as well. The only person with information about the incident that both Rena and Mion denied knowing anything about. If I met him again, I'd like to ask for more details. To ask, was there really a dismemberment here in Hinamizawa? That was my real intention. I spotted Rena struggling up to the slope of the garbage pile. It looked like Colonel Randy was lodged in there pretty firmly. It didn't look like Rena would be able to excavate him by herself. Realizing that Tomitake-san wasn't around, I began climbing down the slope unsteadily.
よーレナ、精が出ますな。
ケイチくん、どうしたのこんなところへ。
A place like this, huh? I see. She was aware of it at least.
事故発生の緊急通報を受け参上しました。負傷者はどこでありますか？
事故って
ランディ君人形がゴミ山に生き埋めになっているとの通報でしたが。
なんだ
冗談だよ。レナが一人で困ってるだろうなって思ってさ。
レナのために。
Well, I filled my quota for today. If I don't see Rena blush at least once a day, then I'm not getting my daily required nutritional intake.
冗談だよ。こっちまで恥ずかしくなるだろ
冗談ってどこからだろう。どこからだろう。
I just ignored her bewilderment.
う。俺どいたどいた。で、どこだよ、ランディ君は。
あ、ごめん。ほら、この隙間から見える？
こりゃ本当に生き埋めだな。
The Colonel Randy was sideways, surrounded by boards and other construction materials, like they were caging him inside. According to Rena, it wasn't like this yesterday. It seems as though another illegal dumper came yesterday, dumped again, and now he's buried like this.
この山を一人でどけるつもりだったのか？その細い腕で。
There's no way she would be able to do that with her slender arms.
でもランディ君人形かいいだもん。お店のランディ君には鎖がついてるけど、これならお持ち帰りできる。
If Rena gave up on this Colonel Randy, she'll probably start devising a plan to steal the one in front of the store. As Rena's guardian, I won't allow her to sully her hands with crime.
どいてろよ。俺がやる。
Rena blushed again, but this time I left it alone. The pile was enormous. Also, the more days we wasted, the more likely another illegal dumping would occur. If it got buried any deeper, there would be nothing that could be done.
ケイチ君、レナも手伝えるよ。手伝う。
帰って邪魔になるから下がってろって。よいしょー。
Pulling out scraps, bending them, tossing them aside, I quickly became covered in sweat and dust. Flying objects drew beautiful arcs across the twilight sky, one after another. Lumber, timber, plywood. Damn it! No matter how much I threw out, there was still more! Even though I could see Colonel Randy right there. After grandstanding like that in front of Rena, I felt frantic because of how little I had progressed.
本気でやるなら、斧とかノコギリとかがいるかもしれねえな。
もういいよ、ケイチ君。すごい汗だよ。そんな無理しなくてもいいよ。
レナのためにやってるだけだ。気にするな。
Rena began sputtering and turned beet red. Ah, whoops. I meant to say I was trying my best so as to keep her from becoming a criminal. Oh well.
さすがに休憩。こいつは手強いぜ。
I sprawled on my back over the grassy slope.
ごめんね、ごめんね。すごい汗だく。
Rena patted her handkerchief against my forehead. It felt pretty nice.
あのさ、ちょっとここで休んでてね。私、家近いから。麦茶とか持ってきてあげるね。
Leaving the handkerchief on my forehead, Rena took off running. The cries of the Higurashi gently cooled the air. After I was certain that Rena was gone, I picked myself up and headed towards what I had discovered earlier. That was a garbage pile of magazines and newspapers bound up in twine. Unless I'm mistaken, I believe it was around here. There it was. There were bound stacks of not so reputable tabloids. They were stacked chronologically, going back quite a few years. It was quite a disturbing incident. They still haven't found one of the arms. It was just as Tomitake-san said. then undoubtedly there would be mention of the murder. These are troubled times. There's no end to these sickening incidents. There's a large part of society drawn in by these incidents as well. So it had to be recorded somewhere. I unfastened the packages and opened the rain-soaked pages carefully, looking over the table of contents. Not here. Next one. Not here. Next one. It's hard to search since I didn't know when it happened. I didn't know who the perpetrator or the victim was either. I only knew that it had happened here. I looked up every so often, checking to see if Rena had come back or not. I wouldn't want her to see me gawking at a dirty magazine, but it wasn't just that. Both Rena and Mion said they didn't know. But it had happened, without a doubt. As long as Tomitake-san wasn't lying. Then if both Rena and Mion... yeah, there was. If they had just said that, then I wouldn't have gotten so hung up on it. An incident that neither Rena nor Mion wished to talk about. Trying to uncover it after they tried to conceal it out of good intentions? That made me feel like I was acting against my friends. Hinamizawa Dam worker lynching. Murder by dismemberment. Here it is! The featured article was in the back, and it had seemed there was a photograph in the colored pages at the front. The pages of the featured article were stuck together and weren't easy to open. Rena could return at any moment. Feeling rushed, I gave up and opened the photograph page. The police investigators were carrying a body bag and newspaper reporters were all bathing it in camera flashes. The image was blurry and hard to understand, but I could definitely make out the headlines. A tragic nightmare at the Hinamizawa construction site. Lynching and murder/dismemberment. The victim was the site foreman. He had assaulted his assailants daily with an explosive backlash from his daily actions. It's a horrible image to see the site foreman as... It happened. It really did happen. It seemed the details were on the next page. I turned the page without pausing. On it was... The assailants butchered the victim's body with hatchets and pickaxes, then used an axe to split the cadaver into 6 pieces: head, arms, legs, and torso. I could understand just from the headline that it was just too terrible an incident. Normally a lynching is just assault and murder, right? Dismemberment with hatchets and pickaxes? Hatchets and pickaxes? That wasn't a lynching. It was a merciless killing to the letter. A brutal murder. Done by a group of people. With hatchets. With pickaxes. With a hatchet.
驚いたかな
Rena dropped the hatchet she was holding onto the grass after being startled by my voice.
ケイイチくんね、さっきほら斧とかがあると便利だって言ったじゃない。それでね、レナ、物置からちゃんとナタ持ってきたんだよ。
Rena fluttered her arms in a panic, continuing to explain and apologize. It seemed I'd been glaring at her pretty intensely.
ごめん。ちょっとオーバーに驚きすぎたかな。
Sorry about that.
こっちこそごめんね。ごめんね。
Night was drawing close. I was pretty worn out, and it wouldn't hurt to do the rest tomorrow.
最後の針はそのナタじゃないと壊せそうにない。せっかく持ってきてくれたんだし、明日借りるよ。な。何しょんぼりしてるんだよ。明日にはランディ君が掘り出せるんだぜ。
そうだよね。早くランディ君をお持ち帰りしたい。
We both knew that it was useless to apologize any more than that. I quenched my thirst with the barley tea Rena brought and wiped off the sweat that had now gone cold. We took the path to head home. I felt quite guilty about the tabloid wrapped up in my jacket. that's it for chapter 3. It's kind of confusing because each of these games is a chapter, but each of these chapters have chapters of their own. So, not sure what to call everything. Alright, we got 2 tips here. October 1975. In accordance with the Prime Minister's Bulletin number XXX, Hinamizawa's Electrical Development Master Plan was announced. The vast scope of the projected Hinamizawa Dam was to have an incredibly heavy impact on the village of Hinamizawa. The area to be flooded by the Hinamizawa Dam would include the 5 areas of Hinamizawa, Takatsudo, Kyotsu, Matsumoto, and Yaguchi. The submerged area would include 291 houses, population 1,251, 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, 1 post office, 1 agricultural cooperative, 1 forestry department lumberyard, 5 shrines, 2 temples, and 1 fishery. All of these communal, cultural, agricultural areas and places of worship were to be indefinitely submerged at the bottom of the artificial lake basin. Forsaking the hundreds of years our ancestors poured their blood and sweat into this fertile, resource-rich land was just too painful to bear. All the residents having homes that were submerged banded together, and created the Onikakushi Defense Alliance. The dam project was halted, and petitions to alter the plan were circulated. The citizens sought peaceful negotiations, but the government and its puppet company XXXXX openly refused. Performing unspeakable, heinous acts, they quashed the democratic actions of the villagers. But the villagers did not falter. Instead, they banded together even more closely and sealed their resolve to protect their homes to the death. The continuation of that frightening Hinamizawa Dam construction project is still stalled as of today. The villagers understand that the stalling was caused by sublime power through unity, and they understand that this fearsome plan has not yet been fully withdrawn. The Onikakushi Defense Alliance had been dissolved after it did its part, but the feelings of unity it garnered have not yet been extinguished. As long as that passion resides in the hearts of the residents, they'll be able to confront whomever next decides to sink their homes into a lake basin. Onikakushi Defense Alliance Committee Chairman, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. That's right, I forgot it was Kimiyoshi saying that. We'll meet him in a later chapter. I believe it's... Yeah, I don't believe we'll meet him until chapter 5, I think it is. Like game 5, not... God damn it, why'd they have to call them both... Why'd they have to call the games and their parts chapters? That's just confusing. Anyway. Nightmare befalls the Hinamizawa Dam. Lynching and murder / dismemberment. On X day of X month in XX Prefecture at the Hinamizawa Dam construction works site in Shishibone City, a bone-chillingly gruesome murder / dismemberment. Even though this case has shocked the archipelago, the police will give no details on the case. Exactly what happened at the Hinamizawa Dam? They probably didn't mean to kill him at first, but as the victim resisted by swinging around a shovel, the rest of the perpetrators armed themselves in return, and it quickly escalated to homicide. So said the aforementioned Investigator A. After this bloody tragedy was over, they were left with a body which nobody could have mistaken as alive. XX-san had tormented the suspects daily with his rough behavior. At first, it was meant to be payback. All the perpetrators were horrified by their deed, and one even turned himself in to the police. It was the de facto leader of this group, XX, who suggested hiding the body. Reluctantly at first, they soon began to think they did not wish to be caught. The construction site had numerous places to hide the body with 6 people. They were originally supposed to hide the body and leave the area, but the de facto leader feared that the consciences of the other 5 wouldn't be able to bear the burden, and came up with a horrifying method to keep them from turning him into the police. He devised the heinous method of splitting the body among them and making each of them responsible for hiding a piece. XX had turned a simple manslaughter into a gruesome dismemberment, and forcibly involved each perpetrator in order to create a sense of unity between them. Each one participated, but what does this mean? Person A spoke out reluctantly. XX had ordered each and every one of them to dissect a piece for themselves. They were hesitant at first, but nobody refused. In for a penny, in for a pound, was what it meant. Thus, an unimaginable bloody ceremony began. The perpetrators wept and vomited as they performed the gruesome task. There was one person who stubbornly refused, but XX threatened them, saying nothing would change if somebody else ended up dead, and he gave up in his objections. But XX's plan collapsed in the span of one night. XXX, who had refused to dissect the corpse up until the last moment, had broken down into tears at the hospital where he was being treated for an injury sustained during the scuffle and confessed. The criminals were arrested one after the other, but the de facto leader XX's whereabouts are still unknown. Also, the right arm hidden by XX has yet to be found. Despite an ongoing search, this horrible individual has so far managed to elude law enforcement. What could the police be doing? It appears that XX had said he was going to throw the body, right arm, into the marsh. XX's car was discovered abandoned near the marsh, but there were no clues to his whereabouts. XX didn't trust his companions. One cannot deny the possibility that he expected his companions to confess to the police and used his car as a decoy. Of course, I doubt that theory. Since he has no car, one would expect him to have a limited area to which he could have escaped to. Wait. Hold on. Right. Why is it not showing it? Dang it. But within the station, there were rumors going around that he had accidentally slipped and drowned in the marsh when he went to throw away the body. To which he could have escaped to? That's not grammatically correct. Yeah, I thought that's what I was reading, and that's incorrect. It's to which he could have escaped, or just he could have escaped to. Anyway, grammar Naziing aside, to the locals, that marsh is believed to be bottomless. It's known as Onikakushi, the ogre's abyss, and it's said that the bottom of the marsh is connected to the hellish world of demons. The atrocious demon from hell that was XX. Could it be that he had returned to hell through the marsh? The Zijin Dragon, bringer of luck and fortune, prosperous future, ladies leaping into your arms, business success, promotions, ambition, protection from harm. Not just with pachinko and horse races, but business and even love. Guaranteed or your money back. Zijin Dragon Bracelet DX, one piece. 27,800 yen. Alright, so that's it for part 3. And oh, hold on, let me save. There we go. Alright, so I will see you all in part 4. See ya!